sorry. Good evening, welcome, Kevin. It's good for us to get together. We've been on several chats together, but this is the first time it's been just the two of us. So a unique occasion, and good evening.
Good. Glad to be here, Stephen, to be honest, and thanks for the invite.
You're most welcome, because I'm always interested in the challenges that you get involved in. And we're here tonight to talk about one in particular, which is an upcoming challenge, isn't it? Which is the 30-day webinar challenge. So I'm going to start with a very simple question. What is a webinar?
Okay. Shall I just give people a little brief bit of history before I go into that, just so they know why we're doing it, for people that don't know? I'm part of a company called SarkeMedia, and that's myself and my partner Sarah, and we've sort of established ourselves as almost challenge experts through our blogging challenge, which has been running for a period of years. And the idea behind it is we get people to take action consistently over 30 days to form a good habit from 0 to reasonably competent. Now, going on to Stephen's question, what is a webinar? Now, it's really interesting because a webinar is a way of communicating to vast numbers of people in a controlled environment, and it's delivered by platforms. If you think, it can be either delivered on screen, as in you can see the person. It can be delivered via slides, so you can't see the person, and it can be delivered with a number of people hosting, pretty much like this. And the idea is you have something to say, some information or some teaching to give, and you have people in the room, and you can get some interaction and feedback going through that.
Right. So what's the purpose of a webinar? What are you trying to get across?
Well, there's two things. Firstly, it's about credibility, as all of what we do online should be underlying about our credibility. It builds up what we're about, our knowledge and stuff like that. And ultimately, it's currently, as figures state, the second biggest way to actually sell stuff online.
Right. So it's a practical way of doing it.
So it's a practical way of actually building something with the purpose at the end to show actually you're a professional in your industry, whatever industry that is, with offers made at the end of it, and people expect that.
Yeah. So people going to a webinar are already of the is that the phone, Kev?
Sorry, just turned it off.
Right, okay. So people who go to webinars are interested in your topic and generally in the mood to actually do something at the end. Yeah,
I mean, there's an expectation when you go onto a webinar, and I would say probably 98% of webinars are free. Because we want people to come in and engage with us, and I say free, there's always a price to be paid, and the price that's always paid is your email address, because to go on to somebody's webinar you have to subscribe. So it's a great way of building a list. Generally speaking, we'll give people information for free, so there's no financial transaction at that point, but during the course of it we actually make an offer to a different product, something that makes, so for instance, you may give them a basic course on how to use Twitter. So for people that have never used Twitter before, you may go, okay, I'm going to do an hour's webinar, and within that hour, I'll get you out there tweeting, okay, for your business. And we'll do that for free. And people sign up and go, this is great. At the end of the webinar, you may say, actually, I've got a course on this. It's a £47 course, and this will take what you've learned to that next stage. Right. Because you've been on the webinar, I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you a discount. I'm going to give you a freebie, or whatever it is. You give them something else, and that is widely accepted within webinars as to that's the procedure that you go through. It's not a surprise to people.
Right. Okay. I understand that. Right. Can anybody run a webinar?
Yes, absolutely anybody.
That's a good answer.
And truly they can. And there's been lots of stuff going on at the moment because webinars are becoming more popular, and I believe they're becoming more popular because of platforms like Blab, because of platforms like Periscope. People are getting heard and they're getting seen, and they're feeling more confident to be able to present what they believe to be a more professional environment within a webinar. Okay, so they're becoming more popular, but people, like any platform, are fearful. They're not quite sure, you know, how do I set it up? What do I do? What format do I work to? What offers do I make? How do I get involved? Am I going to look like a wally? Is anyone going to turn up? There's a million questions that people have.
Yeah,
the fact is, and I can prove this because we did this only 3 weeks ago. We had anybody that's just started, if you started a business today and you had no contacts, no social media, nothing, you could run a successful webinar within 3 weeks and make sense.
Right. Okay. So there are ways of we're going to come back to that because that's interesting, because I've always taken it that you have to have a social following of some description to actually get the numbers in.
No.
There's some magic there.
Well, not really. It's just so if you've got a big following and you've got an email list already, yeah, it's reasonably easy, because if they're engaged with you and you go, right, okay, I'm doing this, who's coming? If you've got a list of 10,000 people that are interacting with you, you'll probably pick 200 or 300 people up that go, yeah, I'll come along and have a listen.
Right.
If you've got nobody, you work it differently, and therefore you have to invest, okay? Because you've got to market it to somebody. You want people turning up. So you have to create a list. Now, the quickest, fastest, easiest way of creating it, and cheapest, is Facebook ads.
Okay.
So you would target Facebook ads to relevant audiences for the topic you was going to do the webinar on, and people will sign up, absolutely guaranteed.
Yeah. So
but it costs.
Right. Okay. So Facebook AdWords you can use even if you don't have a great number of friends on Facebook.
Yeah. The only thing you need for Facebook ads is to have 50 people like your business page. Right.
Okay. Okay.
So
you and Sarah know more than 50 people, so that's off to a good start. Now, what sort of things can you sell on a webinar? You've given some examples, but
what can you sell? I think the easiest things to sell are coaching programs. So coaching and training programs, because pretty much that's the environment that you're in. So you're presenting for a period of time. Most people sort of hit the hour mark. That's quite standard. And you're giving a sample of what you can do within that hour. So it's a natural transition for people to say, you know, I like this person, I like what they're offering. You know, if they do a more advanced course, then I want to listen to more of this and I'm willing to pay. You've built that rapport and that trust.
Right. Yeah.
If you was a plumber, you'd probably find it quite difficult, because you wouldn't expect to find a plumber doing a webinar.
No, but indeed, but it could work.
It could work if they were selling a product.
It's unlikely to.
So if they've got a product, like they invented some new form of plunger, for instance, then perhaps they could showcase it for half an hour, get people along. Okay. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. As you say, Facebook ads is one way to actually get the audience there in the first place. And you're actually targeting. So you're going to get people there who are interested from the outset.
Yes.
And that's key, isn't it?
Well, they have to be interested in what you're doing. And I think part of where some of the webinars go wrong is that what they try and do is people try and put stuff out or trick people into joining webinars when it's not really what they're after.
Right.
They try and leverage people that they know. So, for instance, if I knew an accountant and they were absolutely not interested in doing anything online, but I sort of said, "Oh, come on, mate, come and join me," there's no point. There's no reason for them to get involved. The thing is, you've got to understand your prospects to be able to target them, and then you've got to actually say to them, "Well, this is why it's worth an hour of your life."
Yes. You've got to put a convincing argument up before the show starts.
And of course, you have to do it very succinctly on Facebook ads, because you don't get a lot on there to convince people.
Right. Okay.
So
can we come on? Yep.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So if we now come on to the 30-day webinar challenge itself, first silly question: is that 30 consecutive days?
Yes. Right. So day one is as if you've never done a webinar before. You haven't really got a clue what, but you think that you need it. So day one is very much about, it's a research day. So I'll tell you what day one is about. It's a research day. We're currently writing an epic blog post, which will be released for day one, which will list down every webinar system out there.
Okay.
The pros and cons of each one, and believe me, there's a load. It's taken us ages to write it. But you need to, when you're going to look at doing this, you want to keep your costs down. Yep. And the majority of webinar systems will allow you to have a 30-day free trial.
Okay.
So the idea is, on day one, what we do is we say to people, firstly, you need to research what your webinar is going to be about. So, you know, poll your audience, send an email out. So you're thinking of doing a webinar, what would you like me to do it on? Go into your Facebook groups for where your prospects are, find out what they're talking about. All of the basic research stuff we should do marketing anyway.
Yep.
And the last part will be, well, here's an epic list of different platforms. Go off and have a look and find one that you're comfortable with, because in 22 days' time, you're going to be launching your webinar.
Right. And being comfortable is important, isn't it? Because presumably you've got to practice. How do you practice?
You can practice within their systems. A lot of them have what they call off-air rooms. Yeah. So you basically go on as if it's live, and it gives you the time to check your mics working, to check your slides, get your timing right, upload them, make sure it all looks right.
Yeah.
So they're very good like that.
Right. So the first day is for research, then research of your market and the people who are interested in it.
Yep.
And of the systems available. Find one that you're comfortable with, try it out, and then go with it. Now, I'm not going to go through each of the 30 days, because that would remove the challenge, and you're not going to let me on it. Right. So we're going to go broad brush now. Okay. And if we take it in sections, and you lead this part, after you've got the research, what are the next steps? Okay.
So the challenge we'll go through. So we'll go right from the very beginning. We've also got some confidence buttons in there as well. So people that are having a crisis of confidence in themselves, we've actually got a psychologist that's coming on board with this program, where in the emails, it will give them certain things. I won't tell you what they are, because they're a little surprise, but people, if they're panicking at any point, they can just click on this link, and it will give them a verbal, let's say, comfort blanket from a trained psychologist. That will help them as well, because we understand it can feel a bit pressurized. So we start off at that point. We then look at how you can pre-market your webinar. We look at landing pages. We look at getting the software sign-ups, what your offer's going to be, what your giveaway is going to be, all of the things that you need. We then give you the outline on how you actually write the slides for a webinar. So there's templates involved with all of that as well. We give you templates for the emails. So it's quite detailed, and it's a fill in the blanks. Then we talk about social media marketing, how you can leverage that by writing blog posts, blah, 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 all of that. We also touch on Facebook ads. So if you don't know what a Facebook ad is, we'll show you how to write one, create one, target it, and put it out. And this is a lot to go through.
It is,
yeah.
It is, yeah.
But not everybody will use all of it, because some people will be experienced in parts and not other parts. So, and then we get to a few days beforehand. So that's very much a case of testing, writing the post-webinar emails. Yep. So the follow-ups, which are actually more important than the pre-webinar ones, because 80% of sales will be done on the post-webinar emails. So they're really, really important. So we'll give you the magic formula for the 4 emails you need to send out post-webinar, what they are, the structure, and all of that. Yep. And then we'll tell you how you can continue to make this and repurpose this webinar going forward to make you money week in, week out with very little input.
Brilliant. Okay, well, that's brilliant synopsis of the whole course. And it's a whole lot packed into 30 days and 30 continuous days. So there's a commitment involved, isn't there?
There is a commitment involved. It's done over that period of time because we truly believe that, and we do it in our blogging challenge. People say, well, why not over 60 or 90 days? And some people will do it over that period of time. But we believe in taking action and doing it. You do it, you get stuck into it, you get it done. And if you can launch a successful webinar within 3 weeks, it's 22 days actually from day 1 to day 22, and make money from it. And we've done this recently. We've tested this. So we know it works and it can be done. We've done it ourselves, so we know it can be done. Then I think you need to take that action. We can all sit there and learn forever and a day, and take a year to actually plan our first webinar, but that's a year gone by in business. And a lot changes. So our whole premise on what we do is to get action taken and get it out there, get it produced and get it done.
Right. So I know you said a trained psychologist, but presumably you're also helping and motivating people. I know that's part of the process, isn't it? To have the backup.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, there'll be a supporting Facebook group, which will be very much like the blogging challenge one, so people can come in and share their concerns, share their sign-ups. You know, we're encouraging people to go onto each other's webinars to support and to help, because it's always nice to know you've got friendly faces in the room, even though you can't see them. You see people come in and we all smile. You know, we see them come into places like this and we go, oh, that's great, John's in or Steve's in or Jeroen's in or whoever. So it's always nice to know. It just calms the nerves a little bit. So we've got that going on. We've also got, it takes the fear factor out, because if we're putting social media stuff out and nobody's done it before, you don't want to look a wally. So
no, indeed. And that, I mean, just stay with that point for a moment. And that's the biggest fear, isn't it? Being a wally.
There's two biggest fears, and that is firstly, nobody will turn up, because you don't want to talk to an empty room.
No.
And secondly, that you'll get it wrong, or it won't work, or you say the wrong thing, or you'll mess up, or any of that. But so we look at conquering all of those things within a very supportive environment, and that's really, really important to us. That we're not pushing people into doing stuff they don't want to do. What we're doing is we're supporting people and giving them the tools to be successful, and they've got us backing them up within this group.
So the path is from doing research right through to the live webinar itself, and then what happens after the webinar?
After the webinar, it's all about the post-webinar. So it's about the follow-up, the sequence of emails that we go through to follow up, how we can repurpose that, because often with a webinar, we can record it just like we can with a Blab, and how to turn this into an evergreen, recyclable product so it can keep going out and earning you money, so you don't have to actually be there.
Right. So it's a way to build up residual. What's the word I'm looking for?
Recurring.
Recurring income. Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah. It's not a one-off. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, it doesn't have to be a one-off. We've all been on webinars where we know they're recorded, and that's okay. Yeah. I have absolutely no problem with that. I've been on webinars where I know that they're live. I've got no problem with that. But what I do think is, as business owners, using our time wisely is always a good option. True.
Now, if we're going to contrast now a webinar with, say, Blab, just for a second, I mean, we've got great interaction here between the two of us, and a webinar, it's not the same, is it? You've got to be confident in yourself.
It can be.
Okay.
I think one of the difficult things with webinars is that you feel like you're talking to yourself.
Yes, right.
It can feel quite isolated, and what you don't want to do is spend too much time looking at the chat box, which will be there, because it will distract you.
Yeah.
And you can suddenly fall off of where you're meant to be. So you've got to be comfortable in almost talking to yourself, which sounds like you've just come out the loony bin, but unlike a Blab where I'm talking to you, you can hear me, you can hear me, and all of that. You go onto a webinar and you don't even know if your microphone's working.
Right, that's very true. That's very true. Okay, so just go with that point a moment. I know you're not going to give too much about a 30-day course, but going on Periscope and Meerkat.
Sorry, say again, please.
Would using Periscope and Meerkat as part of the training help?
It's not part of the training, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there are test sessions that we're going to be holding beforehand, and there's also, just to put people's minds at rest, it's not 30 days of absolute full on. There are a couple of rest days in there as well, so we understand people need some time to recap. But Periscope and Meerkat, and the same with Blab. I think if people have experienced this, yes, it's good from the confidence point of view, but it is a different environment. You're often sitting there on your own with your laptop, and there is no feedback. And even on Periscope, You get people commenting back and leaving hearts and sharing.
Right. Yeah, fair point.
And all of that. But on a webinar, you'll get nothing.
Right. Okay.
So
that's where the testing comes in beforehand.
Yes.
Group testing, to make sure that you're not talking. Well, you've got to be talking sense. You've got to be talking to the point. Right.
Yeah, and this is why you need to practice. If you've not done it before, just a couple of little practice sessions just to get comfortable. You don't even have to go through the full presentation, but just to get comfortable with being in that environment, making sure that, you know, it's the right time of day and the kids aren't going to walk in when you're halfway through, or the dog's going to bark, or any of those things. And you're quite focused, and, you know, and the whole preparation thing is quite important, as in, you know, have you got your bullet points laid out properly? If you've got a drink, if you need one, if you're one that gets a very dry throat, and just stuff like that. And then we practice before we go live. And remember as well that even if you go live and stuff goes wrong, that's okay, you know, because it happens everywhere all of the time. You know, we've all seen speakers that go onto a live stage with 500 people there, and they're going, my microphone's not working, and nobody can hear them. You know, so stuff does go wrong. The key to it is just carrying on and moving past it. Because if you focus on it, everyone else will focus on it.
I mean, if your mind goes blank, then you just got to take pause for a moment, like I have at the moment, and just surreptitiously look at the script and say, right, okay, that's what we're going to talk about next. I take it, even, you know, it is live, and you've got to be up for it. You've got to be in the right frame of mind. Right, okay. Now we've been talking for 20 minutes. If we go for another 10 minutes or so, if anybody wants to join in and ask questions, you're more than welcome to do so. We'll open up the seat in 10 minutes time, and you can ask Kevin questions live on air. Which is the beauty of Blab, because your questions will possibly be different to mine, undoubtedly. Right, okay, so when does all this begin?
Right, publicly, we're in the test phase at the moment, so we've got a select few people that are going to be testing it this week. And this, just to be clear, and for transparency purposes, it's not a free challenge. So unlike the blogging challenge, this is a paid for challenge. So we've done that because we want people to be absolutely committed. And often on a free challenge, people will sign up but be inactive. So we want people to actually financially commit as well as time commit, which is why it's a paid challenge. And that will launch, it will be 2 weeks today. It will go out publicly. We're taking pre-bookings already from people, which we've got a list of people for when it goes live, and that's absolutely fine. But it's going to be 2 weeks today.
Right. Well, additionally, anytime you want, Kevin, you can pop a link as well in the message box, so that people who have not heard of it before can actually sign up and get the information of it. We're not here to directly sell, we're here to discover what's actually in the package, but if you are interested, then this is a good chance to come in a moment and ask questions about it. And there we are, we have the link. Wonderful. Right, okay. Now, what is it that comes across is that you really enjoy this, don't you? This Thursday challenge arena where you've done the blogging, and
we love it. We love the thing is there are so many courses out there that aren't, I'll just say it because nobody else will. There's so many courses out there that aren't a true benefit to people. They'll sign up and they're guised sales pitches. They're not quite enough information to be really impactful for what they're looking for, and they're not really hitting the place where people are looking for. And some of them cost a huge amount of money but aren't very good. Some of them are free and they don't even deserve to be free. You know, so we tend to pick things that we excel in. So we know Sarah's very good at the blogging. We'd kept this private for 4 years before we put it out publicly for free, the blogging challenge. because we wanted to make sure that it had been tried, tested, we knew the results, and that the people coming through it, if they took the action that we suggested, would get the results that they were looking for. And that's worked phenomenally, and we love going in there, seeing people that come in with very little confidence, don't really know, and we get such a variety of different fears from people going through that challenge. We just like seeing them blossom into the person that they want to be online, and that's great. And I see the same with the webinar challenge, that there are so many people that are fearful of the camera, fearful of how they sound, fearful of not quite getting it right, nobody turning up, all of those things that we've already talked about. And we know through experience, because we've been on every single part of that journey. We've done webinars where no one's turned up. I did a whole webinar where my mic didn't work. And it was complete silence and nobody told me. You know, we've done all of them.
Been there, done that, yeah.
You know, and I think we're both in a position, because Sarah and I, even though we're very aligned, we come at things slightly differently, and therefore the support side for us and the confidence, if we can nail that and give them the information at a beginner's level to get them out there presenting well, you know, we've achieved what we want to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, the support that you provide on the blogging challenge is legendary, and the encouragement as well, and the fact that so many people complete it. Can you talk about just stay with the blogging challenge, the number of people who've been through the challenge? It's quite amazing, isn't it?
We've had over 10,000 in the last 18 months. We've not had all of those graduate through the 30 days. You know, and I'd say probably 200 or 300 of those were absolute spammers. As we always get. But, you know, lots of people sign up, but then the thing is, it always ends up a realisation. And the great thing that people don't expect with any challenge, and whether it's the blogging or the webinar or whatever it may be, they'll come into it because they've been told, you've got to go blogging. You've got to do a webinar. It's the way to earn bundles of money online. Okay, so they go off and they go, right, okay, let's go and find something that will help me. So they stumble into our challenge, and some come in going, look, so-and-so's told me to do this. I really don't want to do it, but I'm going to have a go. And then what will happen is they'll go one way or the other. And then either go, wow, I love this stuff. I'm going to go on, I complete it. They do their 30 days, and then they keep posting afterwards. Or they go, you know what, I really don't like this. Whether they've told me to do it or not, I'm not doing it because I really don't like it. The thing is, they've actually made a realisation. They've actually jumped from sitting on the fence of not quite knowing to, yes, I do it, I'm going to do it, I love it, I'm going to be successful at it, or actually it's not really for me. They might see the benefit of it, but they may well decide to outsource it.
There's no such thing as instant successes. So you've got to work at it, and working through the 30-day program gives you all the tools that you need, and as we said earlier, it gives you the confidence as well. It
does. And the thing is, they're designed as well for people that we know are working, that are busy. You know, this isn't a 10-hour-a-day course, and either of them a 10-hour-a-day course. We've designed it so it's a maximum of an hour's worth of input per day. Because that's achievable for most business owners.
Manageable. You can slot it into your day and make it part of the regular activities for 30 days. And if you go from A to Z and show the commitment, then after on day 22, you should have a webinar that rocks.
Absolutely. But even if you miss a day, because, you know, stuff happens, life gets in the way and all of that stuff, we get that. You know, so if you miss day 2, then do 2 and 3 together. It just means you've got to do 2 hours on that day.
Catch up. So you are your own boss, but you're being guided towards a target of doing a webinar.
Absolutely. And some people will take 40 days, and that's okay. That's up to them. That's completely their choice. We've had to be a little bit stricter on this one purely because of the 30 days that you get with the webinar software. So because after that you've got to jump and you've got to go, actually, I'm going to use this, it's working for me, I'm going to pay for it, because most webinar software is paid for. There is no real getaway from that. So with blogging it's different, because you have a site and it doesn't really matter, because once you've got the site, it's there. With this sort of on a bit of a ticking clock with it. So you really need to, from the day of testing it, to putting it out, it needs to be within the 30 days. Otherwise, you're going to go live and that system won't be available for free anymore.
Okay. If you were coming from scratch, what hardware would you need?
What hardware? Very little.
Right, okay.
What I would say is make sure that you've got and I say this with actually all of this type of thing, as with Blab as well. Make sure you've got a wired internet connection, not wireless, because wired is more stable. So a good internet connection. Depending on where you're positioned on camera, in camera, so slides and a little picture of you, or then you need a decent webcam that has good quality. Okay. Certainly a decent microphone, absolutely essential. Right. You don't want one that's crackly, noisy, or bitty, or keeps cutting in and out, because whatever you do, whether you do it on slides or whether you do it visually like this, you've got to be heard.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, I heard it said. Sorry to interrupt. I heard it said that sound is as important as vision, because people will listen to a video with good sound. What they won't do is listen to more than a couple of minutes of video with rubbish sound.
Right. People get very frustrated with it. And with webinars, people will often listen to the replays as well, or they'll download the replays and listen to it on their phones in the car. And part of the repurposing of the webinar challenge is teaching people how to extract that audio from a webinar and reuse that.
Yeah,
so it's really critical.
True. I mean, a lot of people who actually listen to Blab, well, I was going to say watch Blabs, they don't actually watch them, they're listening to them. We're quite possibly on another browser window while they're on Facebook. So the sound has got to be good. The sound has got to be really good quality. So if you want to do a summary now, and then we'll stop the recording, because we... Oh, hang on. My bad. Does anybody want to come in? Right, it's live, Kevin. It's live. Just saying it's not perfect. If anybody wants to come in on camera, you can just press the call in button and join Kevin and I and ask a question. That would be good. If you've got questions that you want to ask in text, you can do that. If you've caught the end of the webinar, there will be a replay about 20 minutes afterwards, which you can watch from the beginning. And Kevin and I have covered everything from beginning to end, so that you know what. Kevin's not told me what's it in each day, because I wouldn't expect him to. But we have had an appreciation of where the course can take you from and to, which has been quite wonderful to listen to. And I can see that yourself and Sarah are going to push this. And anybody taking the Thursday webinar challenge is going to end up doing a damn fine webinar after 22 days.
Thank you.
If they put the effort in. Well, I've followed the blogging challenge. I know the support you've both put in there, and especially you're cheering people on and getting involved.
We're really excited. We see this as part of the future of making money online. And, if it's a technology problem, a process problem, then let's help people with that. And I really believe that this is a way that people will, especially in the service industry, so people, the coaches and people like that, if they're not using webinars as a way of engaging, list building, whatever it is, making money directly selling their courses, I think it's a big miss for them.
I totally agree. Right, well, nobody's going to jump into the seat. We can see that now.
I've frightened them all off, Stephen.
Well, we don't know if people actually watching, so there you go. It's been wonderful, Kevin, to hear all about the webinar. If you'd like to thank everyone who's been on, and then we'll go off camera so that we have a recording which you can repurpose.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for inviting me along to find out more about it.
Yeah, it's been a most enjoyable 40 minutes. If we pause the recording now,